Right now, we have a live look at the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. Breaking this morning, the High Court handed down a decision less than an hour ago that will limit judges' powers to issue sweeping nationwide injunctions. Those local rulings have delayed numerous policies from the Trump administration while legal challenges played out.
Yeah, this includes the president's attempt to end automatic birthright citizenship. Our legal expert, Whitney Traylor, joins us live this morning to break some of this down. Whitney, thank you for being with us.
Sure, good to be here. A lot happening.
Absolutely, yeah, a lot happening right now. First, walk us through what this decision means for lower court judges.
So what this decision means is essentially these lower court judges cannot impose nationwide injunctions. And the court really didn't get into the birthright citizenship issue, the merits of the constitutionality of that, because I think the decision would have been different. But they're saying that no, judges, lower court judges cannot impose nationwide injunctions regardless of the subject matter. And so now what that means is that individuals, instead of one judge saying, hey, you can't do this and imposing an injunction across the nation, individual plaintiffs will have to go and each case is going to have to be ruled on, which I think is going to have a real chilling effect because think about it, if you're not a citizen, you have a child on this soil, the 14th Amendment says they are a citizen because they were born here. And if this injunction or if the executive order is in place, is a parent who's not a citizen going to be comfortable going to court trying to sue on behalf of their child? So I think it's going to have a real chilling effect.
Yeah, so my immediate question to what you just described is how this is going to change the process, not only for the people who want to sue, but for the courts having to make the rulings.
Well, we're going to see a ton more litigation because right now, even if the policy is completely unconstitutional, which I fundamentally 100% believe this executive order is. You can't just change a constitutional amendment with an executive order. But now the issue is going to be all of these individual cases are going to have to be sued upon, and maybe they'll have a class action or a state can bring a claim. And there is currently pending a case with New Hampshire that was not part of this case where an injunction was imposed. So we'll have to see how the courts deal with that because you can have individual plaintiffs, a state, or even a group of people, but it won't be a nationwide. And what's interesting about that is, let's say there's an individual case and the Trump administration loses and they say, yeah, you are a citizen. Well, that policy is still in place across the nation, even though this court said it was unconstitutional. So it's going to be a lot of litigation.
Whitney, remind us again about the birthright citizenship issue that's really at the heart of this.
Right. So the 14th Amendment says, it's in the language, all persons born or naturalized in the U.S. are United States citizens. And so this was passed in 1868 in response to the Dred Scott decision. And this Dred Scott decision in 1857 said, Black people, whether they were born to free or enslaved people, were not U.S. citizens, but a separate class of persons. So in response to that, Congress came up with the 14th Amendment to say, if you're born here, you are a U.S. citizen. That was then confirmed a few years later in 1898 in the Wong Kim Ark case, where it said children born in the U.S. are U.S. citizens. And so in this case, so that's the 14th Amendment. And all of the courts that have looked at this so far, currently lower courts, appellate courts, have ruled that the executive order was unconstitutional. So that's the history of the 14th Amendment.
So now with this morning's ruling, what does that mean for President Trump and birthright citizenship?
Well, so I think birthright citizenship, I think when it's actually ruled upon in the merits that the Trump administration is going to lose, that birthright citizenship cannot be eradicated with an executive order. But in the meantime, what this means is if these lower court judges can't impose nationwide injunctions, you're going to see these policies implemented by an executive order, which is really unconstitutional when you have an executive order which sort of is a law. It's not really a kind of a law. So, you know, if you have these executive orders in place, you're going to have to see now litigation in all of these different situations. We're going to have different court rulings. You're going to see forum shopping where people are going to be trying to go to judges that are favorable, and it's ultimately going to end up at the Supreme Court in terms of the merits. can he override birthright citizenship? And I believe even with this conservative majority, they will rule that he can't undo birthright citizenship. But in the meantime, there's going to be people who are going to suffer as a result of this decision on these individual cases.
All right, well, we know that the press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, says that the president is about to speak on this sometime this morning. We're going to bring that to you live whenever that becomes available. Whitney, thank you so much for helping us understand this a little bit more.
Yep.